Hey y'all, welcome back to Leslie's Mature Makeup and Beauty. Today is going to be part one of my 2021 favorite things. Some of these products were new releases this year, and probably most of them were older products that I just discovered. Lots of drugstore stuff. I've got a few high-end things in here. So we're just going to get started with face primers. And if there's something that I've talked about in the past that didn't make it in here, it's just because it wasn't maybe my tippity top favorite. But first I want to talk about, as far as face primers go, my Maybelline Master Blur Stick. This thing is awesome. It's just kind of a white roll-up stick. This thing retails for like $5. This is the color transparent, and this blurs my pores better than anything else that I've tried. This is my number one. If I want my pores to look flawless, this is my go-to. You just twist it up, rub it around, and you're kind of pat it in and you're good to go. And then I also like, it doesn't blur as much, but when I did my full face of L'Oreal, I tried this Age Perfect blurring face primer. And if any of this stuff that y'all can't see well, I am going to list everything down in the description box, so you'll be able to find it all down there. But this one is the color 00 Rosy Rose. And this does a pretty good job at blurring. It's got a little bit of a pink tint to it. But once you rub it in, you don't see that pink tint to it. It's kind of silky feeling. You actually get a lot of product in here. I mean, it's a full ounce, which is, what you would get in a foundation. But this does a pretty good job too. It is more expensive, I think, than the Blur Stick, which, this is like 0.3 ounces, so you don't get quite as much. So probably by the time you factor it up ounce per ounce, they may be close to the same. This Maybelline Blur Stick you can't find absolutely everywhere. I know you can get it on Amazon, and then I found mine on Walmart.com. I haven't seen it in store at my Walmart, but I don't know that I've looked yet either. But these two are both great from the drugstore. But like I said, that Maybelline is just my absolute favorite. There's some kind of magic. And then for a high-end option, I only recently discovered this. This is the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer Base. I got this in a little sample. It comes in a little pot. It's got kind of a little pinky tint to it too. But this does a pretty good job at blurring out the pores as well if you want something higher end. I think these two are probably do the best job of the three that I've talked about. But just price wise, I'm going to go for that Blur Stick every time. I'm going to use this up, but I don't know, 100% that I don't know, I may buy another one. It does do a good job. And it just rubs, I don't know why I'm trying to show you that. You can't see that. I'm crazy, I think. But this one has been a nice one too. And it's, obviously you can get Tarte at Ulta and other places, but those three primers have been really nice finds this year. And I have several foundations. Really over the past probably year and a half, maybe 2 years, I've really gotten back into drugstore makeup. When I first got my nursing license, I was super excited to be able to afford expensive products, so I tried all kinds of higher end or prestige brand makeup, and I tried so many foundations, and honestly I have one higher end foundation, but I have several from the drugstore that work better than a lot of the high end foundations that I tried over the years, as far as not enhancing my texture. I've got a pretty decent color match. They last well. And most of these y'all have heard about before probably. I'm going to start with my newest find, which is this L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum Foundation. I don't have quite the right color. This is it's got sheer coverage, and it doesn't come in a ton of shades. I want to say there's like maybe 4 or 5. The only thing that's terrible about this is this dropper. It is such a mess. I don't even know why I opened that. I guess just to torture myself. This retails for around $20 at Ulta, but you can get it. I know the Walmart in my area carries it for around $15. This one seems to, the longer I have it on my face, it seems to look better. Now, it does have a pretty high content of alcohol, so I think if you have really dry skin, you may not love this. And I haven't worn it, for 2 weeks every day to see, would that alcohol content have any effect on my skin. I have pretty normal skin. Sometimes I get a little oily in the T-zone, but that's more in the summer than it does in the winter. Sometimes in the winter I can get a few dry patches, around my nose, my chin, that kind of stuff, but this sits really nice on the face. The best way to apply this one to me is just to use my fingers. I've tried it with a brush and a sponge, and there's something about warming this up with your hands that just works better. And I picked up the shade, I guess I must have fat fingered it when I bought it, 4 to 5 medium, but I need to go down to like the 2 to 3, which I do plan to pick up a lighter shade. And I'm going to give this, I've got some family members that are darker complected than I am, so I'm going to pass this on to one of those, so this doesn't get wasted. But I think this is a really pretty, it sits really pretty on the skin. And then as far as a skin tint, this WetnWild tinted hydrator, I think this thing retails for $5 or $6. And this is really pretty. I think I wore this in one of my last couple of videos. It's got like a sheer to medium coverage. I usually apply this one with a brush or a sponge. And even if I use a brush, I generally go over it with a sponge just to tap everything in really good. But this is a really pretty finish. It lasts well on me. It is a little bit more dewy than my absolute favorite foundation, but it's really pretty. It's like $5 or $6. I mean, you can't hardly beat it for the price. I really like that one. And then I got another one here from L'Oreal, and y'all have probably seen this one all over the place. It's the Infallible 24-Hour Freshware. I really like this one. It's not super matte on me. It's more of a, I guess maybe a little bit more of a natural finish. It lasts well. It's about a medium coverage. I have the shade Rose Beige in this one, and it's got a nice pump applicator, which I wish they would have done that on that Serum foundation. This lasts all day. It looks good. It doesn't settle into any of my lines or wrinkles. It doesn't make my pores look worse. It's got some sunscreen in it, which I wish foundation just wouldn't do that, because you would have to use so much of this to get the SPF 25 that's in it that you would look ridiculous. But I really like this one. And I'm not sure how many shades this comes in, but I feel like it's quite a few. And then my absolute #1 favorite foundation. This was a new release this year, I think, back in February. The Covergirl Outlast Extreme Wear 3-in-1. This has got a little bit of SPF in it too, but generally chemical SPFs bother my face. These both have octinoxate, so that must be a chemical sunscreen that doesn't bother me, but I don't usually put this. Well, I don't know. I have used this one, under my eyes, kind of like a concealer, but this one has a matte finish. It says full coverage. I usually apply it with a sponge, so I get more of a medium full coverage. But this is just beautiful. It's, like I said, it's a matte finish. My pores it's what I've got on my face today. It, it doesn't enhance my texture. It wears all day. It said they claim it's got 24-hour wear. I've never tried it for 24 hours. I don't know who does, but got a pump. And they do have, I think, something in a similar package with a black cap. I've not tried that one. But this is just, y'all have heard me rave about it before. It's just gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. This is one that if I'm going somewhere and I want to look flawless, I pair this with my Maybelline Blur Stick, and I feel like my complexion just looks not perfect, because nobody's complexion is perfect, but it just looks really good. And then a high-end product that I tried this year, I actually got it on sale. I did not pay full price for this. The Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue. This one's got a little SPF in it too. Like I said, I don't know why. It's got a pump, but this pump is a little bit messy. Mine seems to leak everywhere. This is a more moisturizing foundation, so if I'm having a day where my skin feels kind of dry, this one feels really nice. It blends in super quick. It's got about a medium coverage. I don't know what they claim that this has. I want to say it says that it's full coverage, but yeah, it's got octinoxate in it too. So that must be the one that I can tolerate. But this gives me about a medium coverage. Like I said, it blends in easy. It's not quite as hydrating as the Wet n Wild, or it doesn't appear to be on my skin, but it's got a really pretty finish, and I like it. And sometimes if I've got something that I want to... This shade is a little bit light for me, so sometimes I'll mix this with something that's a little too dark to balance out my shades. But I think this is a really nice higher end foundation. I think it retails regular price for like $45, but I bought it when Ulta was having their 21 Days of Beauty for like $22 or something. I don't know that I would repurchase this, you know, once I use it up, but it is really nice. Just because I've got so many good ones from the drugstore that work so well. And then next we'll move on to color correctors. I only have one of those. I tried several this year. I tried the one, you know, lots of ones that people recommended. The NYX one that comes in the little compact. A couple of ones that came in pots, like the Flower Beauty one. I tried one in a stick form from L'Oreal, or like a crayon. But this Neutrogena color correcting concealer, it's got niacinamide in it, which is supposed to help brighten, but I don't know, is that really going to brighten your dark circles? But I've got the shade Peach, and it does come, I think, in a green, and then it comes in a darker peach shade. This works perfect for me. It doesn't emphasize my texture. Normally what I'll do is just dot it, you know, in this deepest part, and, you know, like right under here where my dark circles are the darkest, if I'm having a super dark circle kind of day, you know, if I didn't sleep good or whatever. But it's got a little doe foot applicator, super easy to apply. It blends in easy. It sits nice. You know, sometimes I'll do this and then just put some foundation under my eyes and leave it at that. But this has been I've really enjoyed this. This is the first one that I found that didn't make my under eyes look more dry in texture than they really are, or, you know, really enhance it. So I highly recommend this one. I think it retails for around $12, but this was a really great find for me today, and I think this year, and I think this was a newer release this year. So I was really pleased with that. So that is kind of my face products. And then we will move on. Nope, we got concealer. I've only got 2 concealers that I found this year that I liked. You've heard me talk about the higher end one several times lately, but from the drugstore, the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. Now this one can emphasize the texture under my eyes if my under eyes are kind of having a rough day, if they're a little more dry than normal. But this is like super full coverage. It's got a huge doe foot. It only takes a tiny amount. And as I've taken better care of my under eyes, I can get away with this one a little bit more often. But it's got a huge doe foot, and it takes just the tiniest amount of this to do the trick. And I've got the shade, was it Fair Beige? But this is I think a pretty good one from the drugstore, because I tried tons. And this one, and then the Lancome Tint Idole Ultra Wear, y'all have heard me talk about this one a lot. This one's full coverage. This one's a little bit more on the medium coverage side. My only complaint about the Lancome, like I can wear this even if I'm having like a bad under eye day, is this doe foot is gigantic compared to the tube that you have to put it in. But it's kind of got a bigger doe foot. It's a little bit angled there at the top. And I've got the shade, I think, Cool Ivory 110 or something. This one is just, if I don't want to have to worry about my under eyes, this is my go-to. It's only a medium coverage, so if my eyes are looking really dark, I'll go in with a little bit of that Neutrogena color corrector and then this one. But like I said, I've got some new ones from the drugstore I'm going to be testing out soon, and I hope to be able to find something to replace. Because, you know, this is like $27, $29, somewhere in that neighborhood, but I think it's worth it. It's beautiful. It's the best concealer I've tried so far, by far. So that is concealer, and now let's talk about blush. Y'all know I love blush. I've got several of those. And I've got some others in my drawer here that I like. These are just my absolute favorites that, you know, they go on easy. They're pigmented. I just love them. So let's do, I got a couple of cream blushes here that we'll talk about first. And then the rest of them are powders. My favorite cream blush from the drugstore, and I've tried a few, but this Milani Cheek Kiss is my absolute favorite. I've only got 2 shades. I've got this one, Blushing Berry, and then I have Nude Kiss. But this formula is just, it's emollient, and this looks really scary in the pan, but it shears out beautiful. And it almost gives me that kind of, if I were sunburned, this is kind of the color that I would get. It dries down to a powdery finish. I think these are like $8 or $9, and they're beautiful. You can apply these with your fingers. You can apply it with a brush. You can put it on with a sponge. I usually either just go in with my fingers, or I'll use my brush that we're going to talk about here in a little bit that I love for cream products. But this is just a beautiful cream blush. Like I said, they're pigmented. You can either shear it out, you can build it up. I love them. And then I do have, I think I only tried one higher end, and I do have some other cream blushes in a palette, but I think they were limited edition, so from e.l.f. But higher end wise, this Tarte Breezy cream blush, I have the shade Peach Sunset. This is a little mini. I think the mini retails for like $13 or $15, but this is a nice, it's not as emollient feeling as the Milani, but it dries down to a powder finish as well. It goes on super easy. It doesn't get patchy. It doesn't lift my foundation. Neither of these cream blushes do, but it's just really beautiful color. And this is kind of like the Milani. You can build it up. You can shear it out. Not sure how many shades this comes in, but I've really enjoyed this one. And it does have a little tiny mirror in it, but cute packaging. But I love this one too. It's a really good higher end option. And then powder blush. One of these y'all are already going to know. I've raved about it several times. So we'll just knock that one out. The blush from Essence for $3. This is actually the shade that I have on today. For $3, you're not going to find a better blush. These are super smoothing. They're pigmented. They're easy to apply. They do something to my cheeks that just kind of blurs that area out. They're just gorgeous. And for the price, I mean, the packaging is a little on the cheaper feeling side, even, versus like the Milani plastic packaging, but these are just stunning blushes. Stunning blushes. You just can't, I just don't think you could go wrong. I think this only comes in like 4 shades is the only, I wish they would release more, because this is a great formula. I have several of them. And then I have a couple of powder blushes from Milani as well. I have the Rose powder blush. I only have one shade. This is the Tea Rose. It's got that pretty rose in it. But Milani packaging, just kind of with the ones that have this gold accent to it, just look kind of high-end. It feels kind of weighty. But this is a really pretty, everyday kind of just natural flush to the cheeks look. Pigmented, smooth. The powder feels just silky. These are really pretty blushes as well. And then I also love the Milani Baked blushes if you want a more luminous blush. These are gorgeous. This is the shade Dolce Pink, and I also have that classic Luminoso. These do have just a little bit of a sheen to them, but I don't find that it enhances my texture. Some days if I don't want to wear, or don't have time, or just, don't want to fool with highlighter, that just gives a really pretty sheen to the cheeks. I've only got this shade in Luminoso, but I definitely want to pick up some other shades in this. I have a lot of blush, so it's not really a necessary purchase, but they're beautiful. And, like I said, that Milani packaging just looks stunning. And then I have from e.l.f., I think this is their primer infused blush. This was actually, I didn't intend to purchase this. It was a freebie with my, if you spend so much money on e.l.f.'s website, you know, they'll throw in a couple of free gifts and you get to pick from, you know, four different options what you want. But this is their Primer Infused Blush. This one is a little bit powdery compared to some of the others, but it doesn't look powdery on the cheeks. These are pretty pigmented. This is the shade, what is this? Always Punchy. So just make sure you knock your brush off, but they're just, these are really nice. The powder, like I said, it feels, you get powder kick up in the pan, but it's a silky feeling powder. These are actually, I really like these. I placed a e.l.f. order recently to get, I had quite a few points, and that's one of the things on their website too, which I think you can earn points anywhere if you submit a receipt, but their little point system, it seems I've earned them pretty quick. So I think I have another shade of that coming that I picked for my freebie. And then the only high-end blush that I've really tried this year, the Tarte 24-hour or Amazonian 12-hour Amazonian Clay 12-hour blush. This one is in the shade Peaceful, and I know I have another shade Party Dress that I really like. And these are just the little minis that I got as samples, but these are super pigmented. Some of them have more of a shimmery finish, like this one's kind of got a little bit of a sheen to it, but these last all day on the cheeks. It doesn't take a lot to, you know, get to the color that you want. And for a high-end blush, these are really nice, I think. But like I said, I haven't tried a ton of high-end blushes because just why would you? There's so many great ones at the drugstore that, you know, you just can't hardly go wrong. I mean, I think blush is one of those things that maybe it's hard to mess up. So that is my favorite blush discoveries of the year. And then for bronzer, I've got several that I like, but these three are my most reached for, most favorite bronzers. I've got the Milani Silky Matte, and I have the shade 02 Sunkissed, and this is just what it says. It's silky, it's matte. This shade in particular is a little bit cooler toned, so I think this works great if I just, you know, when I did my little quick, easy makeup look for y'all. This is the bronzer that I used, and it feels silky. It's got a matte finish, and with this kind of cooler undertone, it's easy to kind of sculpt out, you know, if you want to. I like to disguise my 5 head. You know, this works beautiful on the cheeks. I can use this in my crease. If maybe the eyeshadow palette that I'm using doesn't have a good crease color, this works good to kind of, it's the perfect shade to kind of push my hoods back a little bit. I just love these. And then from L'Oreal, I have the Bronze Please bronzer. This one is the matte formula. I think it says Laterra, but I feel like the shade is, it's 01 Portofino. This is a little bit warmer. You get a huge pan, but this is a little bit on the warmer side. This is the bronzer that I'm wearing today, but I really enjoy this one as well. And this, I don't know, I'm rubbing all this stuff on my hand just because it feels so silky and good, but this thing is going to last forever. I mean, it's huge. I mean, just look at the size of that pan. It's gigantic, but I love these. I don't notice that this really has a smell, but this one has been one of my favorite finds of the year. I'm going to rub bronzer all over myself if I don't do something. And then for a higher end bronzer, this one has been around for 100 years. I only tried it this year. You know, I kept hearing about it, but I wasn't going to pay $30 for a bronzer. But again, at Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty, I picked up from Benefit their Hula Bronzer, the original one. Now, they have a light and a deep, I think. This one is matte, and it's a little bit warmer than the other two. It's got a little bit of a, I don't know if I can get it to show up here. It's a really silky powder, but it's got on the cheeks, yeah, you can't really see that. It's got a little bit of like almost a reddish undertone, which I think works good for my skin tone. It gives a nice bronze. It's easy to use. I just hate this box. Like the brush that I like to use for my bronzer is this e.l.f. Complexion Brush. And it just, you can see size-wise, it just barely fits in there. I don't know why they do this. I think a compact or even just a flat cardboard magnetic packaging would be a lot better option than this. But this is really pretty. I see why it's a cult favorite. It's super easy to apply. It doesn't ever come off. None of these come off patchy or anything. I love all three of those. That's kind of when I look in my bronzer drawer, and it's usually one of those three that I reach for. Now, I do like, the one from Essence. I've got that one from number 7 that I haven't used a ton, and I don't have a ton of cream bronzers. I've only really got a couple that I tried this year, and they're just not standout favorites to me, so that's why I didn't throw those in. And now we'll move on to highlighters, and y'all already know my most favorite one, I am sure, because I have gushed about it since the day I tried it. So we'll go ahead and knock it out, and I'll try not to say too much about it because y'all have heard me. The Essence Pure Nude. I mean, for $5 or $6, this is the shade 10, Be My Highlight. I mean, this is a nice, natural looking, lit from within kind of glow. You can build it up, but I mean, it's just stunning. The formula is just soft and silky. It doesn't have glitter in it. It's just stunning. And I have sat here and really packed it on, and I still didn't look crazy. Or, well, I don't think I did anyway. But I cannot say enough good things about this. If you haven't tried it, it is $5 or $6, whichever it is, well spent. This has been, since I bought this has been my go-to. If I'm reaching for a highlight, it's usually this one because I know it's easy. It's going to go on seamlessly. It's not going to emphasize my texture. It's just beautiful. And then another powder highlighter that I discovered this year that I like is this from Milani. It's their baked highlighter. This is the shade 110 Dolce Perla, or Dolce Pearl. This one I can go overboard with. Where the Essence Pure Nude is a little more of a natural looking highlight, this does have a little bit more of, I don't think y'all can't see that, like microfine glitter particles. Usually if I wear this, I like to put it under my blush. And if I go too heavy-handed with this one, it can emphasize my texture, but it's a really nice formula. It's silky. It's soft, but it doesn't emphasize my texture like that NYX High Glass that I used the other day. It's nothing like that. This is a pretty one, I think. And then I recently tried this ColourPop Super Shock highlight. I picked up the shade Flexitarian, and it's more of a cream highlight. So buttery soft. Now this, if you want to be seen from space, you can absolutely build this up to be seen from space. Just look at that. That's actually what I have on today. I just tapped a little bit on and then patted over it with my sponge. But this is a really nice formula too. You do want to make sure you tighten your lid good on these because they can dry out, is what I've heard. But I've enjoyed that one. And it's, even though it's got such a sheen, it's not like huge chunks of glitter. So I've been enjoying that one as well. And then I've got a few liquid highlights here. One of them is technically a primer, but we'll get to that in a second. Excuse me. From L'Oreal, their Lumi Glotion. This is really pretty. I've got the shade Medium Glow, which I bought back in the summer when I was a little bit more tan. But this is a really pretty, I'm just going to rub it in right here. It just kind of gives you a kind of a glossy look to the cheek. I do need to pick up a lighter shade because this is just a little bit deep for me now. But, possibly in the summer I could use it again. But this is really pretty, just tapped over the cheeks. I think it gives a nice kind of lit from within glow, and you get a ton of it. It's like 1.35 fluid ounces. But this is really nice. And I like this sometimes. Well, I used it more in the summer, like I said, when I was more tan, and I would use just that on my cheeks. And then, oh, I forgot a blush. Well, we'll talk about this other primer, and then I'll throw in this other blush. I must have just forgot to grab it. This Rare Beauty This is actually, they call it an illuminating. Oh, why is it tiny? Always an Optimus illuminating primer base. This is really pretty as a highlight, as like a cream highlight. It comes in a little tiny pump. I got this as a little sample for my birthday. And it just gives a nice kind of wet look to the cheeks. Really pretty. You can see that it's really pretty. I used it under foundation and the glow, which I did use a more fuller coverage, a matte foundation. The glow didn't quite peek through like I wanted. But this is really pretty tapped on top of the cheeks as well as a liquid highlight. And I forgot the Rare Beauty blush for a higher end blush that I like as well. This is the shade Adore. I also got this as one of my birthday gifts from Sephora this year. But this is really pretty. I think I've used this a time or two. It takes just the tiniest amount. So they do sell minis. But just a little bit of this is, I put one tiny dot on there, but it's super pigmented. And it does dry down. It doesn't stay sticky. But it's a really nice liquid blush formula. And for, a Sephora brand, Rare Beauty is not super expensive. They're pretty reasonable as far as Sephora goes. So I've liked this one too. Like I said, you do just want a teeny tiny amount. Either put it on the back of your hand and then dab into it with your brush and put it on, or just do tiny dots on the cheeks and pat it in with your fingers. But just go in with a tiny amount to start with. That's why I say you could get away with buying a mini, and I think it would last for quite a while just because it is so pigmented. So we got a little extra blush in there. And then for powders, I've really only got 2 powders. I've got some others that I have purchased more recently that I haven't used quite enough to say that I love them, that they're my favorites of the year. So first off, we've got the number 7 Lift and Illuminate Triple Action Finishing Powder. I got the shade Light. It's translucent, or supposed to be translucent. Comes with a mirror. But this is a really fine, very silky feeling powder. It blurs the pores nicely. It will set down, if I want to set the center of my face, if it's looking a little too glowy. This is really pretty and it doesn't look super powdery. This is great to carry for touch-ups. It doesn't come with any kind of a sponge or a compact or anything, but the packaging is super nice. You can get this at Walgreens for like $12 or $13. And I've enjoyed this year. And then a higher end powder that I've really liked is the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores. This is the translucent shade. And this is just, I don't know why I keep opening all these things, just to make a mess, I guess. But this is really pretty at blurring out the pores, setting down your foundation. I use this sometimes to set down my eye primer. But this is a really nice one. It's just kind of spendy. For $34, you get like 6.8 grams, which is like 0.23 ounces. But it takes such a tiny amount that this will last quite a while, I think. But I really like that one. Like I said, I've got a couple other loose powders I'm testing out, trying to kind of get a feel for. But those 2 have been my favorites of the year. I'm going to go ahead and, before we talk about any tools, and end it with powder today, because I have gotten pretty long-winded, and I will throw in all of my tools in part 2. I know I kind of briefly mentioned a couple as we went, but so far, I have found a lot of really great things this year. I don't think you could go wrong if you picked up any of these. And y'all let me know what some of your favorite finds of this year are. I would love to hear, down in the comments. And I know I say it every time, but y'all are the best subscribers in the whole wide world. We're slowly growing. I think we're still in the mid-90s as far as subscriber count goes. So once we get to 100, I've got a few things that I want to give away to you guys for just thank you for your support. But I will see y'all in the next one, and we'll do part 2. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, y'all.